Good morning. We're going to be doing a razor cut. I'm my friend Andy here.
All right.
And we had discussed what she's looking for with her haircut. Mostly the primary focus would be open up the cheekbone right now and to give that kind of like a nice swinging curtain fringe. I would classify her hair as each individual hair is really fine, but she has really high density. So she has a problem with volume and getting a broken texture. So using the razor to be able to help her with that, give a lot of peaks and valleys in the haircut. So we got a lot of broken texture. And then we'll do a little bit of layering on the top and then take the length off the shoulders here so it doesn't flip right on the shoulder. So it just kind of swings around.
Cool.
So I've sectioned off the hair, high crown to top of the ear, and then again at the slope here at the front of the head to section off where the fringe area is, and then just comb that all forward and really kind of push this around to see where her hair is sitting and what the hairline is going to do as this is, drying a little bit here. So first thing we discussed was her cowlick right here in the front. Mm-hmm. This section gives her a lot of problems as far as control, and that her hairline wants to brush backwards. So we're really going to work with that to kind of create this volume in here and then have this a little bit of a disconnected fringe so that we get a little bit more movement and control with it. So knowing that this hairline here is going to be the issue, kind of want to clump this together and then find what's going to be the fringe section, what sits on the face, what sits off the face, and what's the transitional piece in between. So as her hair is kind of clumping together on its own, what I'm seeing is this is the piece that's blocking off the cheekbone right now. This is what wants to live off the face, just naturally falling to the side and falling straight down. This is what's going to be going in between, and then this is going to be our main focus of the fringe area there. So I'm going to clip this section away.
Cool. So understanding placement, how that weight's going to fall. Brilliant.
And listening to the hair and the way that it wants to grow with the hairline and kind of clump together. So same on this side. So listening to the hair too, having this more not necessarily precise sectioning. Doesn't give us symmetry, but what we're going to be looking for is balance. Where's this piece? It's going to be there. So clip that away. So we want this to kind of sit just right on top of the cheekbone there. I think that would be a really flattering length in the front. So knowing that, I'm just kind of loosely place this in my hand. I don't want to disrupt the roots too much, so I'm going to be combing below the roots. And coming in and measuring, we want that to be about there. So I'm going to come from the inside and work my way out, this being the shorter length, so that's where I want it to start. And I'm going to take really big stroke section there. Slap. Cute. So then we're going to match that on the other side, using her cheekbone as the guide. And letting that cowlick live where it wants to live. Cheekbone. Very nice. Now go looking at my balance and make sure I'm maintaining balance as I come through this haircut. This section, because of the way that it grows, is much finer than this section. So I want to even this out so both of these are balanced in the same amount of density before I move forward with the rest of the haircut. So right in this area, I'm going to check where the bend is in her hair. So right where that starts to kick up, I'm going to work below that and just take out big sections to create that separation and get rid of a lot of that density so that we have more of an even, balanced feel between the two sides. So now I'm going to work on these pieces that are falling straight down. We really want to open up the face. So starting at the cheekbone here again, because that's where we really want to emphasize. I'm going to layer this coming straight down, combing the hair into natural fall. And as I open this up, I'm going to make sure that I'm moving downwards and not backwards. I don't want to take off a lot of length. I just want to lighten this area up a bit.
Cool.
Just that rolls under.
Brilliant. It's cool how you're kind of defying the old theory of short pushes long with that fringe piece and then this piece you've just done here.
It kind of creates like waves in an ocean, you know?
It's all the peaks and valleys, isn't it?
Totally, to be able to like manipulate the hair into where you want it to go. So we know that we want this hair to push this way, so we need a shorter spot for it to sit in this little pocket here.
Your little parking spot.
That's it.
Yeah. Cheers, geezer. Yep.
Same on this side.
I like it. Everybody's answering that question now as to why it's not doing what the laws are. It's cool.
Starting. Letting that push it. Roll it under.
Yeah, no, Slick Rick. Decent question, my friend. No problem there whatsoever.
What was the question?
It was, why is it not pushing it short to long? Yeah. We were all thinking the same thing, my friend, so.
All right, so now we have our transitional piece here. And we kind of want to be able to have this fringe section sit in here. And what's happening now is that all of this weight of the hair is going to be pushing that forward. So she's going to be constantly trying to flick this back. This doesn't have a place to sit because all of this hair, that transitional piece that moves back and forth, is blocking that off. So visually, I want to connect this short piece into that short piece of the fringe right here. So really, if you can see it, it's like this line right there.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to split this in half here and go again from short to long.
So now you've got this convex peak. Yeah.
Again, checking where that bend is. Cute. I love working with the razor because of the looseness I feel like it gives me. So checking for where the bend in her hair starts. And then here's my guide on this side, up into there. So we have long, short, long, short, long. So because she wants a lot of looseness and airiness and separation, I'm going to go in and create that space. We want a lot of movement. So we need to remove a lot of these really fine hairs. But we don't want to do it too close to the scalp because then it'll just stick straight out because her hair is really, really straight. So just finding where that bend is to help encourage a little bit of movement in there.
Again, you're listening to the hair.
Just and looking at it,
Yeah.
right? Like looking how it sits. Close that.
I think it's good because you're given the option with the fringe now, because the weight is in the middle. It can be swept to the side as well, can't it, both ways?
Well, and you know, going both ways. So.
No, I'm just laughing at a comment.
Oh, so now, like, well, and then also too, like listening to this hairline. So now she knows, you know, if I'm not involved, it's gonna sit nicely because we cut it where it wants to live. All right, so I'm happy with that. And I'm going to move on to the length now. So we know that we want to kind of remove this flip, which is about 1 inch off of the length. But I want to also remove weight at the same time. So we're going to bring this around town. How's the leg there? Yeah. Okay, so taking subsection here. I'm going to do weight removal first and then put in my line. I do that when I'm working in these dense areas because once you remove the weight, you get a lot more kickback and can see how much texture and movement you're going to get once you remove the weight. And that affects how short or long the hair is going to be. If we have a lot of density and it's heavy, it's going to lay flatter. But once we remove that weight to release it, that length comes up a little bit. So we want to think about what our true length is going to be once we're all finished. Checking for the bend, and I'm just going to swoop out really big sections here.
So using that kind of Nike,
the Nike
swoosh.
I don't want the hair to be super skinny on the ends. I still want it to kind of clump together. So by going in closer and taking out those big sections, we're still getting that thickness in between these like spaces
instead of it all being fine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Especially with her hair already being fine, the smaller strokes might actually make it look frizzier. We want really like chunky, heavy sectioning and stroke with the razor.
Right.
So coming in, taking off about 1 inch. The razor slides through her hair like butter too. It's really nice. So all these little pieces, if you see little ones, just pinch it away. This is still flipping on the shoulder. And here too. So because it's less than 1 inch, just holding it down where it wants to sit and me just kind of tapping those little pieces in is the safest way to use this tool in this scenario. With my hair, like my clients, when they come back for another razor haircut, I say we have to cut at least 1 inch or else it's not worth it to go in with the razor, just because you don't have enough space to really get the stroke in. And it's also dangerous, you cut your finger.
Yeah, and you're not using a guard.
Exactly.
Yeah, I know it's pretty close there. But again, you're a master of what you're using. You've learnt to use this instrument. It's just like we're using the scissors or the shears, guys. You have to master the instrument. It's like learning to ride a bike.
Okay, so again, I'm going to go in with the rate removal, and then put the line in. So this hair's natural fall, combing below it, coming in, checking for the bend.
So removing the weight first.
Now I've had this last hands-on class that we had here in San Diego, the question came up is, now that I'm going in and I'm removing the weight, am I picking up that stuff that I've already cut underneath? And the best description I have for that is, yes, probably. But what's happening is this hair is now influencing what's underneath anyways. So we really just want to like attack what's at hand, and what we're seeing, how this hair influences what we've already cut and where we can remove weight. So you can see how all of that weight removal right in that section, as opposed to it like dropping flat there, now we're getting a little bit of that bevel coming down underneath.
Especially now when you go in there and do the length.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then we're going to take that length off there. So cutting past that guide that I've already just slightly passed, my stroke is starting at the guide from underneath. So it's almost like a bit of an undercut there. Going a little bit past it so I can see it through my fingers. Now I chose to start this haircut in the front today because that was the most dramatic focal point of the haircut. Removing the length isn't the most important part of the haircut. And I wanted to tackle that first so that I know everything else can just be dialed in to match what we've done in the front. I also did it that way because as I'm now cutting that back, that front of the haircut is setting and drying on its own. And then the client can also see it. And we've established that this is the length that we wanted, and everybody's feeling confident about this big change that we made in the front. So now I can move into the back where they can't really see what's going on. So that bevel's so nicely in there. All right, last section. It's cute.
I like it. It just sounded like a gremlin.
Out of nowhere.
Sorry.
All right, so weight removal first. And now that I'm seeing we can remove less weight because this is already kind of falling over it. Really nice and clunky chunky. I love how it just, I think Gerard said it like Velcros together on its own like that. When you're working with the razor here.
So putting that space in just kind of helps to add it, like stick it together too.
Yeah, and yeah, helps it like kind of find its friends, right? So it'll clump together. But then also releasing that weight so that we get volume at the root, right? So analogy that I like to use is to be able to get movement, you really have to add space. like a full water bottle, if you look at it and there's no air in there, it doesn't look like the water's moving. But once you add some air, remove some of the water, then you can see the movement of the water in the water bottle. Same thing with the hair. Now that we removed all of that weight, we get so much more movement, natural movement back here.
Cool. So cool.
Great hair texture. I put, I use a prep spray and then a little bit of smoothing balm before I started cutting. So it's, I mean, not much product, just those two things. Andy here says she doesn't use any styling products, and I'm not trying to change anybody's routine or make their lives more difficult. I think this haircut will be able to just be a wake and shake.
Why do we want it to clump? I think, do we want it to clump because of what Andy's kind of requests are? She's got a lot of hair, and usually it's very thick and very solid looking, and she'd like to see more pieciness and more strands, I would say. Mm-hmm. So that was the image that we were shown and we were looking for.
So now, bringing this length around into the ear, the way that I have this section is I'm protecting this length already that's going to come over the ear, you know, when you're working with bobs and any of that shape. So this is already clipped away, and we know that we're not going to cut that. This is growing back here, and then this is falling straight down. I'm not going to try to bring this, manipulate it, move it back and forward too much. I want this little bit of a jump there because we know this hair is going to fall back over it once we release that. So really trying to just leave it at where it's at and then match it into that length. And then same on this side.
Sweet. Bless you.
All right, let's take a look. A little longer on this side. Can I have you look out to the window? I would just turn her head a little bit so that I can get into this corner a little bit better here. It was just a touch longer on this side.
Watch those fingers.
Watch them, the fingies. Okay, and then can you look straight again, please? Thank you. Let's see. Did I do it? So now the next thing we're going to tackle is these sections up here. This is going to address the volume. We're wanting to get volume. Now we don't want it to be super head hugging because she's concerned about mushroom shape. We want to kind of leave it a little bit longer, kind of more French bob vibes with these little bit of bangs here. So I'm going to be working short to long into the back. And I'm going to be using this piece that's right below her cheekbone as my guide for where I'm going to start the layering. Going down. So literally just picking this piece up. And I'm going to come in underneath. So my guide is here. And then I'm going to flip the razor over and come in underneath and just work into her length. So we already established our length there. I'm gonna get that out of the way so I don't recut it. Safety. And then just elevate everything up to the ceiling here. Checking to make sure that I'm pulling that into the right place. If I was, I would have a mirror right in front of me so I could see which way I'm pulling the hair to. So now this is looking really dense, so before I cut it, I'm going to remove that weight. So same thing, really big. Get a little. Check again. Check twice, cut once.
Love that one.
Works for a lot of things in life.
Check 10 times.
Check, check. So just, this is my guide right there. You can see, and it's just that little bit of a corner right there.
Yo.
Let's see, close this. Yeah. So this length, this disconnected piece, was the result of that sectioning. So we were able to maintain all of the density down here to give it that heavier, denser line down at the bottom by protecting that with the triangle sectioning there.
Very cool.
Taking that line off there. Very nice. Woo. All right, so now we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to use the length on this side as my guide. So clip away what I'm not going to cut.
Sorry, Slick Rick, I was answering a question. So I had to. Very needy today.
Yeah. You haven't been on your page in a while.
I know. So basically, guys, what we're doing here, this is KDF Live. We do this every week whenever we're in town. And we do this on my private education page, Knowledge Destroys Fear, which is a monthly subscription or annual subscription. And that's where you can find all of my and our education throughout the years. All the series that I've done, all the curriculums that I've written are all on there. And it's just a good way to kind of follow us on our education journey of teaching and traveling around. We've got some new classes coming up too in the new year, 2023, where we just had our final hands-on classes here in San Diego. And we're going to start back up in January. We have a 2-day at the end of the month in January. And then in February, we've got 2 one-day classes, don't we? We've got scissor and then we've got...
And another hands-on razor class.
February 19th and 20th. And then another 2-day in March at the end of the month. And those are our first classes for the new year. Our classes are, it went real
fast.
quick. Our classes are limited to 10 people in each class.
Here in San Diego, right?
Yeah. And our members get a 20% discount of all the classes here at our education space.
I think the hands-on razor class is such an amazing opportunity to learn a new tool. Really get comfortable handling the tool, how it works on the hair, especially because we work on doll heads, so they always love their haircuts. And it's kind of a safe space to really just explore what else you can do for your craft as far as tool-wise, look-wise. So if you guys are interested, it's really a great class for any level of razor cutting, because this isn't the way to cut razor, it's just a way I know, and I like sharing it with everybody. All right, so there's our...
I think that's really important what you just said. There's so many different ways to do things. It's like there's no governing body as to this is the only way, and I think that's kind of something I've learned with my many years of experience of teaching, that there's nothing that's really wrong. Everything works in a sense, you know what I mean? It's just how you want to approach it.
Totally. And how you process
and what
it,
makes
right?
you feel good and the way you're doing it, it's up to you. There's, shouldn't be dictated by anybody.
And as, we're in a craft, and this is information that has been passed down from other hairdressers and people that we have learned from, right?
Totally.
And just being able to express it in a way that I understand it, which means that other people might understand it that way as well.
Exactly. I think that's the thing. You speak someone's language.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what a teacher is. It's an interpreter.
All right, so I'm just kind of coming around to the end of this haircut, but I'm going through and just kind of pushing the hair around and seeing where else I could take some weight out to really enhance that movement in here.
Great question there. Why don't we engage more with the client? I don't know if I could sit so long without being included in a conversation. I'm not sure if Andy would really want to get engaged in a conversation when we're live to the world of hairdressers. And she's not really a client, it's more of a model situation. So she's used to this where she just kind of sits there and has her hair done.
Yeah, this looks good. This looks good as I'm coming around. So I'm gonna, I think I'm just gonna set this a little bit and then diffuse it, because I really want to see how her hair is going to sit naturally. I don't want to take a round brush to it or a flat iron or anything. I really want to have a true read of her natural state of her hair. So to be able to preset this, I'm going to put my blade down. I'm just going to kind of come through here and take big sections. Now her hair, I would say, is probably, less than 50% dry. Her roots are pretty dry. So what I'm doing is I'm just kind of raking the hair and clumping this together, trying to put my fingers back in those same sections that I've already separated, and then just kind of pinching them together. And then I'm just going to push that back a little bit and just let that hair sit where it's going to sit.
Brilliant.
I learned this at a hair show, and they called it the rake and shake, and it works really, really well, especially to enhance that natural texture, because we would really want to see what her hair is going to do for us now that we took out all of that density. So this kind of gives that like beachy, almost flat iron curl effect, but much more lived in.
Now, did you put something in this?
Before I started cutting, I did a prep spray, and then both products from number 4. So I did Super Comb and Protect, and then a smoothing balm, which is kind of like a lightweight, more silicone product. Her hair needs a little bit of weight for the control within a product, but we don't want it to make it too heavy because her hair is really fine. So putting the product in before I cut it is kind of like a cutting lotion, but it also like helps me evenly distribute it while I'm cutting because I'm combing all around.
Can this be used on long hair? Remember, the longer the hair, the heavier it is.
This technique, as far as the styling, yes. It works really nice with long hair. The drying process would take much longer.
Yeah.
Andy, when your hair air dries, how long would you say that takes?
I'd say like 30,
30, 40
40 minutes.
minutes? Okay, not too long.
No, it's not too long.
This is something too that is really, you can show your clients how easy this kind of styling is. It is all about control and how you handle the hair. You can see as I'm taking these sections away, I'm not twisting them up and manipulating them too much, just moving it out of the way so I can get into the section that I want to focus on. That way I know this isn't going to have a crease or a clump and have to like really redo that section. This works great for really curly hair as well, as opposed to doing the twists.
Right.
This is more organic finish.
So you could do this on curly hair too.
Mm-hmm.
We had somebody ask that question.
Yes. I would have the hair be wet, like really, really wet if you're doing it on curly hair. Her hair's, it's drying as we're going through it. This last section here.